Good morning, students. Today we will start a new lesson, which is the cell, the unit of life. As we all know, that cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life. We all know whether the life forms, which are microscopic or macroscopic, they all are made up of these basic structures, which are called as cell, and which also performs the all functions within the cell. So we can say that cell is the fundamental structural and functional unit of all living beings. Whether unicellular organisms, they are capable of independent existence and performing the essential functions of life. So, Anton von Leeuwenhoek first saw and described a live cell, whereas Robert Brown he discovered the nucleus. The invention of the microscope and other optical instruments led to the proper reveal the structure of the cell. So, the Anton von Leeuwenhoek, as he first saw and described a live cell, and since from that time, many of the scientists were engaged in knowing more about the cell. So, the cell theory was formulated by two German scientists, Matthias Selden and Theodor Schwann. Independently, Selden in the year 1838 examined a large variety of plant tissues and observed that all plants are composed of different kinds of cells. So, in the year 1838, Selden observed a large variety of plant tissues and observed that all plants are composed of different kinds of cells. At about the same time, Swan, in the year 1839, he closely studied different types of animal cells and found that the animal cell had a very thin outer layer known as plasma membrane. So, in the year 1839, the British geologist he observed different types of animal cells and reported that cells had a thin outer layer which we call it as plasma membrane or cell membrane now these days. So, both these scientists, Selden and Swan, together formulated the cell theory. But the cell theory, however, failed to explain that how and from where the new cells were formed. So, all these observations led to a major expansion of cell theory that was expressed by Rudolf Virchow in the year 1855. Modified the hypothesis of Selden and Swan and explained in his statement that cells divide and new cells are formed from the pre-existing cells, that is omnis cellula e cellula. So later on, Rudolf Virchow he explained that he modified the cell theory formulated by the Selden and Swan and put forwarded the basic concept that all cells arise from pre-existing cells, that is omnis cellula e cellula. Thus, the cell theory states that all living organisms are composed of cells and their products, as well as the second point, all cells arise from pre-existing cells. So we may say whatever the cell do we may observe within the organism, they have arisen from the pre-existing cell. Third point, cells show similarity in chemical composition and metabolic activities. So somehow they show similarities also in their chemical composition respect as well as the metabolic activities which are performed by the different cells. They are also somehow we can say correlated to each other. The fourth point, cells are the structural and functional unit of all living organisms. So as well as we may also enlist that the smallest unit of life is the cell. That is, every organism starts its life as a single cell. So whether it is a multicellular organism, we can consider or we can go through that it also starts its life as a single cell. Now we'll go through regarding the overview of cell. So as we have earlier observed the cells in an onion peel as well as human cheek cells under the microscope. Let us recall their structures. We have gone through, we have discussed the onion cell, which is a typical plant cell, has a distinct cell wall and a distinct cell wall as its outer boundary, and just within it is the cell membrane. The cells of the human cheek have an outer membrane as the delimiting structure of the cell. Inside each cell is a dense membrane bound structure called the nucleus. And this nucleus contains the chromosomes. So these chromosomes in turn contains the genetic material in the form of DNA. So the cells which were having membrane bound nuclei are called as eukaryotic cell. As we may see in the diagram, the nucleus is surrounded by double layered structure which is called the nuclear membrane. In this case also, we may observe the nucleus is surrounded by a double layered membrane which is called the nuclear membrane. So these are eukaryotic cells. Whereas the cells which were lacking a membrane bound nucleus are called as prokaryotes or prokaryotic cell, as we may observe the structure of a bacterial cell in which we may observe the genetic material is not enclosed within a confined membrane called the nuclear membrane. The nucleus is not so present. The genetic material, it is lying dispersed within the cytoplasm. In the case of prokaryotes, the regions were called as nucleoid. In both prokaryotes and eukaryotes, a semi-fluid matrix called cytoplasm occupies the volume of the cell. The cytoplasm is the main arena of all the cellular activities in both the plant as well as animal cells. So, various types of chemical reactions do occur within it to keep the cell in the living state. Besides the nucleus, the eukaryotic cells have other membrane-bound distinct structures called organelles like the endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi complex or the Golgi apparatus, lysosomes, mitochondria, as well as microbodies and vacuoles. The prokaryotic cell lack these membrane-bound organelles. The ribosomes, they are the non-membrane-bound organelles, and they are the distinct structures which are present in both prokaryotic as well as in eukaryotic cells. Within the cell, ribosomes are found not only within the cytoplasm but also within the two organelles, which are chloroplasts in the case of plant cells, as well as within the mitochondria and on rough endoplasmic reticulum. In addition, animal cells also contains non-membrane bound organelles called centrosomes, which helps the cell during the process of cell division. The cells differ greatly in size, shape, and activities. For example, the mycoplasma, which is the smallest cell, are only about 0.3 micrometer in length, while the bacteria could be 3 to 5 micrometer. Whereas the largest isolated single cell is the egg of an ostrich. And among multicellular organisms, human red blood cells are about 7 micrometer in diameter. Nerve cells are some of the longest cells. The cells, they also vary greatly in their shape. We have discussed that the cell's shape may be disc-like or polygonal or columnar or cuboidal or cube-like or maybe thread-like or even irregular. And we have discussed the shape of the cell, it depends upon their location and function assigned to them. So, we have discussed that the shape of the cell, it depends upon their location and the function, whatever the functions they perform wherever they are present within the living being, and they perform the essential role within the living being. So accordingly, the shape of the cell is according to the need of the function and location. So we may go through in the diagram the various shapes of the cell, which depicts the specific property that shape, it depends obviously upon their location and function of the cell. So we may consider the red blood cell of human being is biconcave in shape so that it can accommodate more amount of hemoglobin, and also it can pass through the thinnest blood vessel, which are the capillaries. Whereas the nerve cell is concerned, its main function is to transmit the nerve impulse. So accordingly, the shape is also like that, the star with a tail. As well as we may go through that the cells lining the intestinal tract, or maybe that in the case of the villi, they are specifically made so that they can increase the surface area for more and better absorption. Whereas the bone cells, they are accordingly built on the basic plan so that the bone cells, they are present in the spaces called lacunae for the proper functioning and providing the framework to the body. Just like we may consider the shape of the ovum, the sperm, as the sperm is the motile male gamete, and the ovum, it is a female gamete. So accordingly, they are having the shape so that it can perform their basic functions in a well efficient way. Just do we may observe the shape of the smooth muscle cell. Its function is to contract and relax rhythmically to perform its basic function. So we may conclude the shape of the cell, it depends upon their location and function performed by the cell. Till so far here, thank you. Have a nice day.